So summer's here once again, and we all want that perfect sun-kissed glow. Trust me, I know. If you remember my last video on tanning, it actually became our most popular one on my channel. But did you know that 90% of UV rays penetrate through the clouds and you can still get a tan even on a breezy day? Stick around because today I'm sharing the ultimate updated guide to achieving the perfect summer tan fast, safely, and evenly. Whether you're a tanning newbie or a seasoned pro, I've got some tips and tricks you don't want to miss. Before we get into the routine, let's recap the basics. First things first, warm weather doesn't equal a tan. It's the UV rays that matter. What is a UV ray, you ask? Let me call my past self. Hey Siri, what is a UV index?
The ultraviolet index, or UV index, is an international standard measurement of the strength of sunburn-producing ultraviolet radiation at a particular place and time.
Since it's the ultraviolet rays that are responsible for your bronzy glow, and 90% of those rays penetrate through the clouds, you can still get a tan on a cloudy day. Which is why, if you didn't know this information already, you might be surprised that the optimal tanning time can be from the months April to September on average. I remember in my last video I said there was a few days that year that I was tanning in November, so that will partially depend on how Mother Nature is feeling that year. In terms of time, according to my watch that I'm not wearing, between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. is the best time you want to be sitting out in the sun because that's when the UV is at its highest. However, the peak UV time is from 12 to 2. Another little trick Mother Nature can use to fool you when it comes to your tanning game is wind. Please, once again, do not be fooled by the wind because that does not affect the power of the UV rays. And last but certainly not least on the list of recaps, you have to know your skin type. I talked about this in my last video. I'm going to talk about it again, but this time I'm going to introduce you to something called the Fitzpatrick phototypes. This is a numerical classification for human skin color developed in 1975 by American dermatologist Thomas B. Fitzpatrick. What it does is it gives you a very strong idea of if you are the type of person that will burn or tan in the sun based on your skin color, your eye color, and your hair color. Although I'm not a dermatologist, I would say that this classification is accurate. Voila, here it is right up here. For my friends that are from the UK, I was actually in the UK this time last year. If you are redhead, lots of freckles, very, very fair skin, usually light eyes, I don't need to tell you this. You know, unfortunately, you just burnt. Some people are not made to be in the sun. And that's okay. So that's type 1. And another thing to note is if you are a type 1, you are also at the highest risk for skin cancer, specifically melanoma, which is the deadliest type of skin cancer. In contrast, type skin is a very, very beautiful, deep, dark skin tone. They will never burn. They have a high level of melanin production in their skin, although everyone who spends too much time in the sun intensely is putting themselves at risk. Type 6 is at the least risk. So understanding your skin tone can really help you when it comes to the strategy and the routine you're going to implement in order to achieve a nice bronzy glow that isn't going to burn or peel. Now we're going to get into prepping our skin because this is the key component to getting an even tan. So to prepare your skin, you're going to do two things. The first is going to be exfoliating your skin all over your body, and the second is going to be removing any hair specifically on the areas that you want to tan. It's usually said to do this 1 to 2 days before you plan on going in the sun, and the science behind it goes like this. Exfoliating removes dead skin cells, allowing UV rays to penetrate on this fresh, new, soft layer of skin evenly. In a similar fashion, removing body hair, my preferred way to do this is shaving, gives a subtle exfoliation to the skin, but also when you have body hair on your skin, it does block some UV rays from penetrating. In order to get the best, deepest, most even tan, you're going to want to not only exfoliate but also remove any body hair. That way your skin and the sun are on the same page. This is clear communication with your skin and the sun. Now it comes to tanning, kicking your feet up and relaxing in the sun. Just walk your cute little butt outside. Wear your favorite little bikini. I always prefer something that's like a really thin string bikini. Tan lines are cute, but I don't purposely try to have them, so I'll usually just wear something really simple. Something like a thin strap like this cami top I'm wearing right now. I think the way you set yourself up to tan is entirely up to you. I'd probably be fluctuating between sitting on a gravity chair or just doing it the good old-fashioned way, laying a nice beach towel down in the grass or on the floor and kicking it back. I think both are good, and we'll get into why in a second. But no matter how you choose to sit, it's important to keep these tanning tips in mind. Number one, check your skin regularly. This goes hand in hand with knowing your skin type. You want to make sure you're monitoring for any signs of burning, especially when you're under such a bright sunlight during the peak times. Your eyes are adjusting to that level of contrast and exposure being outside. So now going into tip number two, make sure you're taking breaks and going inside frequently. Don't stay out too long without taking breaks. Number one and two go hand in hand, especially with our previous tips. Number three, stay hydrated. Tanning in general will dry out your skin. The bright sun is going to dry out your skin. The wind is going to dry out your skin. So you want to make sure you're drinking plenty of water to moisturize your body from the inside out. And please, for the love of God, if you can, don't use a plastic water bottle. I actually just read a comment the other day from my previous tanning video saying when you leave a plastic water bottle out in the sun and it heats up, it starts to pour microplastics into your water that you then obviously ingest and drink. So that's a big no-no. I've done my own personal research and I've just learned plastic water bottles in general are not healthy for you for similar reasons. So I recommend 18/8 stainless steel. In other words, a non-toxic stainless steel water bottle. This one is the Lululemon water bottle. I think it's 32 ounces. I love her. She's super cute. This one's 100% steel. This next tip is especially important for my friends who have a pool or are planning to tan on a beach, and it has to do again with the UV rays. Most people obviously just assume the UV rays are going to be hitting you just from directly above you. If this is my sun, you know, I'm like chilling. The sun's hitting me this way, but UV rays are actually reflective, so be aware that these UV rays are going to reflect off of surfaces like the sand, especially the water. That's why people say you get a better tan in the water. The best way I can describe it is it's like a laser, like a very precise laser. The water and sand are both very concentrated areas where the UV rays direct its focus to. And then the fifth and final tip in this little category is the peak manifestation of your tan. The effects of sun exposure peak about 3 days after tanning. So let's say you're on vacation. A common myth is like, okay, day one, my skin's not used to the sun, and then by the end of the trip, my skin gradually gets more adjusted, and therefore I can sit out in the sun for longer and get darker. When in reality, if you sit out in the sun on day one, you're not going to fully see that deep bronze until about day three. And here is where Mother Nature can play tricks on you again, because if you're sitting out in the sun on this first day of your vacation and you're doing the little tan line check and you don't see anything, you're gonna obviously be more inclined to sit out in the sun for longer until you start to see a tan. And then by day three, you get this really nasty burn and your skin starts to peel and you're like, oh my gosh, I sat out in the sun too long, thinking it was from day two or even day three, when in reality, the damage literally was done from day one. So this is why we need YouTube tutorials on tanning, because it's a slippery slope. It's a tricky situation. All right, now I want to talk really quickly about tanning oil versus sunscreen, because choosing the right product is also crucial to the state of your tan. So this is obviously not my time, but back in the day, your mama and your daddy used to use baby oil as tanning oil. That was the OG. They all do the same thing more or less. Tanning oil increases UV exposure by focusing the sun's rays more intensely. Once again, it's kind of like that laser shot. Caution, do not use tanning oil if you burn easily. Now you might be wondering, as a few of my comments were asking, what about the tanning oils with UV protection in them? Tanning oil with UV protection are not usually broad spectrum. Let's pause right there. What does that mean? A broad spectrum sunscreen is a sunscreen that protects you from all of the sun's UV rays, because did you know the sun actually produces 3 types of UV rays, UVA, B, and C. You don't need need to worry about UVC because it doesn't pass through the ozone layer of the earth. UVA rays are sometimes known as tanning rays and are less likely to cause a sunburn, whereas UVB will do that job. UVA rays are also responsible for killing and eating up all of the collagen in your skin, which is why people that spend a lot of time in the sun absorbing these UVA rays are known to have leather skin. I'm getting all sciencey. I'm gonna put the glasses back on. UVA rays penetrate into your skin more deeply. They go into the deepest layer of your skin. In other words, based on the speed at which these UVAs travel, they can penetrate into your skin more deeply. So you have your dermis, your epidermis. I have to sneeze. Anyway, they can get into your skin more deeply and cause your skin cells to age prematurely as a result. And about 95% of the UV rays that reach the ground are UVA rays. And the remaining 5% is that UVB rays. They have higher energy levels than UVA and typically damage the outmost layers of your skin, which causes a sunburn. So now reeling it back into the sunscreen conversation, most tanning oils are only going to protect you against the UVB rays, which from a logical perspective makes sense because the job of the tanning oil is to get you a deep tan while attempting to minimize the probability of a burn. Tanning oils are like a supercharged way to get a tan. However, you have to be super careful. While it focuses more intensely on UV rays that give you a tan, it's also focusing on the rays that give you skin aging and cancer. Unfortunately, it's a UVA ray for both of those things. Now, when it comes to sunscreen and you want to protect yourself from the sun, SPF 20 to 30, which is the average SPF level people use, is not enough. And the only reason why I say this is because most people under apply their sunscreen. On top of that, most people are not reapplying their sunscreen. It is recommended that you apply sunscreen every 2 hours. The amount of sunscreen you need to actually get a SPF level of 20 or 30, whatever it says on the bottle, is like a whole blob for each section of your body. When I put sunscreen on my face, I do the 3-finger method. Pretend this is my sunscreen. I squeeze it onto finger 1, 2, 3, and the line goes all the way up my finger, and that is the recommended level for your face. So now take this analogy and multiply it to your whole body. It's a lot of sunscreen. So you should be looking at an SPF of 50 plus. One more thing I want to touch on when it comes to sunscreens is the debate of chemical versus mineral sunscreen. Once again, I had these comments in my last video, and this is a rabbit hole I've been through many times. I remember very vividly on my last video, there was a chain of comments of basically this debate back and forth. I think one person had commented how you shouldn't be wearing sunscreen gives you cancer, and then the other person being like, no, the sun gives you cancer, and like just back and forth. I've definitely heard both ends of the argument, and I've done research on both ends. I think you should be wearing sunscreen. I think the sun can be very dangerous. As of right now, there is no concrete evidence that sunscreen gives you cancer. However, there has been a lawsuit claim against Neutrogena, Aveeno, and Johnson & Johnson, who manufacture and distribute SPF products with excessive concentrations of benzene. So high levels of exposure to this chemical can cause cancer and leukemia in particular humans. So that's also a scary thought. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Out of all of the information I've gathered, my personal opinion on this matter is to choose, once again, a non-toxic sunscreen, more specifically choosing a mineral sunscreen, because mineral sunscreens use zinc oxide and titanium oxide to form a broad spectrum filter that blocks the UV rays. Zinc oxide is safe for your skin. 2 thumbs up. It's a good ingredient and it's not going to give you cancer like benzene will. So if you're looking for a sunscreen, I would avoid the chemical ones with oxybenzone or benzene. I'm going to show you this sunscreen I have right now. This is the Innisfree hyaluronic acid natural sunscreen, obviously broad spectrum, SPF of 50, and this one is a mineral sunscreen made with zinc oxide. So I picked this one up from just my local K-beauty store. I love Korean skincare. That's all I use. Another little interesting factoid is that a suntan actually provides you with some built-in SPF. And the reason why I wanted to mention this as well is because there are tanning oils on the market with an SPF of 4. But when you have a tan, your skin offers you an SPF of about a 3. And the reason why that is because technically, A tan is a form of skin injury. Obviously, your body is constantly working in miraculous ways to protect itself. So in this scenario, your skin will start to thicken as a response to this skin injury, which is why you have a SPF of 3 when you have a tan on. To quickly summarize, while I also give you my tanning routine at the same time, we're gonna start out with tanning between 11 to 4 p.m. and I usually like to be out in the sun from 5 to 15 minutes without any sunscreen. The reason why I say that is because while the sun can be very damaging, very controlled exposure is actually very beneficial for your skin, your health, your mood. So for my light to fair skin with lower amounts of melanin, 5 to 15 minutes is all I need. Anything after that is pretty much purely sun damage. So that's when I'm going to put on some form of skin protection. However, the deeper you are, like the Fitzpatrick skin types, the longer you can stay out in the sun without sun protection and absorb those benefits. If you want to be using a tanning oil, I'd be going in with a tanning oil first. So in theory, you can put on a straight tanning oil for the 5 to 15 minute window period, and any SPF you are going to grab, make sure it is broad spectrum, and you know why. Before we move on to aftercare and a few more tips, I want to touch on tanning the face, because once again, this was a comment I received on my previous tanning video, and I think it's an important piece to add to this updated tutorial because I also struggle with tanning my face. My face never tans the way my body does, and my face ever does tan, it's not there for long, and it's not even worth the attempt in my opinion. But if you want to obviously have a nice even natural tan, which is totally understandable, I'm going to try give you my best advice. The reason why your face does not tan as well as your body is because the skin on your face is actually much thinner than the skin on your body. In addition to that, your face produces less melanin than your body. That's why it's much easier for thicker skin to get a tan than thinner skin. Just be patient because science tells you it's a difficult job. First thing is going to be applying sunscreen. If our baseline for a tan is 3 days, I assume you're going to be sitting out in the sun for 3 days. And if you're sitting out in the sun for 3 days without sunscreen on your face, it's going to burn and essentially be exposing your face to the sun gradually. Another thing I think it's important to note is to use a face specific tanning lotion. I am someone that tries my best to read into the ingredients of my skincare and my makeup. The skin is the largest organ on your body, babe, okay? So you really want to be mindful of the things that your skin is absorbing. I would consider a tanning lotion that is clean. At Sephora, you can shop specifically through the clean section. I also have a few different websites and apps that I use to check the ingredients of my products, which I will leave linked down below, as well as all of the articles and resources that I'm referring to in this video about the sun damage, tanning. Face formulated tanning lotions are designed to be less comedogenic, which basically means it's not going to clog your pores. Like I said earlier, tip number 4 is going to be avoiding overexposure. Like I said, the skin on your face is thinner and more delicate, so you want to make sure that you're avoiding direct sun exposure during peak hours. And then tips 5, 6, and 7 all have to do with skincare, which is a very great segue into our next little chapter on aftercare, because that's also equally important as you're prepping. After tanning, you want to make sure you're moisturizing your skin, bringing that life back into it after being in the dry sun all day. It sucks out the water and the moisture from your skin. Keeping your skin hydrated is also going to help prevent peeling. Number 2 is to exfoliate like you do your body, gently exfoliating your skin 1 to 2 times a week to remove dead skin cells. The last thing I really want to mention is to avoid harsh products. Post tanning, your skin is very sensitive. Like I said, tanning is technically an injury. It's almost like your skin is bruised. Putting on any kind of very, very harsh acidic skincare products is going to lead to, first of all, a ruined moisture barrier on your face, which is basically like your skin's ozone layer, which protects your skin from bacteria. And when your pH balance is ruined, it's going to overproduce oil to compensate for that disrupted moisture barrier, which leads to acne. On top of that, very acidic skincare products are going to throw off the pH balance of your skin. When something is more acidic, it's going to dry out your face, and your skin's already dry from the sun and it's injured from the tan, so it's going to lead to that very flaky, peely burn. Now to get into aftercare, which is pretty simple. You want to be moisturizing every day anyway, but especially when you're in the sun. Again, make sure it's something super gentle. I would recommend something probably unscented as well. Something clean, non-toxic, you know the drill. I actually usually make my own body moisturizer, and a few of your lovely comments on my last tanning video also mentioned how you enjoy things like cocoa butter and shea butter and coconut oil for your skin. Those are all things that I put in my DIY moisturizer. I also love Vaseline. I slab Vaseline on my skin every single night after I get out of the shower, and I cannot tell you how many times people are like, oh my gosh, Brianna, your skin is so soft. I'm like, thanks. Now we have reached my final thoughts. As you know by now, achieving the perfect summer tan requires a lot more than just lying in the sun. It's about prepping your skin, protecting it during exposure, and taking care of it afterwards. By following these tips, being mindful of your skin type and the sun's intensity, you can enjoy a beautiful tan while minimizing risks. And there are safer ways to get a beautiful bronzy glow without being in the sun. My personal favorite is a self-tan bronzing mousse. Ironically, it's actually the fastest way to get a tan. Tanning takes 3 days with the sun. With self-tan, you can get a tan as fast as 1 to 3 hours. So that's always my tanning method of choice. And although I've had my fair share of time in the sun, I will never, ever, 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 ever step foot in a tanning bed. And that is something I do want to urge to you. I actually learned that even taking one trip, a single trip to the tanning bed, increases your risk for melanoma, the deadliest type of skin cancer, by 20%. Stick to the sun with caution. If I'm getting a suntan, I would also recommend to do it gradually. When you sit out in the sun for 5 to 15 minutes, if your skin is fair like me, you're getting your sun exposure in a healthy way. You're getting the benefits of the sun. So with those very small, mild exposures to the sun over the course of the summer, you will get a nice, even, bronzy tan. So that would be my pick. 3 years later, I think I'm still the tanning princess. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative. I really tried my best to give you additional useful information in this updated tanning video. So definitely new and improved. If you agree, I would love for you to give this video a big thumbs up, and of course subscribe to never miss a new video from yours truly. I'm really on a YouTube grind right now, and I actually have a new video coming out right after this one today that also has to do with summer. Make sure to turn on my post notifications to be notified whenever a new video comes out, and don't go anywhere because we have this new video right now. So I love you so much. I'm so thankful you're here, and as always, I will see you in the next one, which will be right over here because it's posted at the same time as this. Okay, see you there.